Okay, so we are going from the past into the future past. Why would I call it a future past? Because this is the world's first modular, polyphonic modular synthesizer. We have shown, early version of it a few years ago over here at Superbooth, and we've been start using it ourselves. We have early adopters who approach and got it and start using it themselves, gave us feedback. We've been working on it very extensively. And the reason I'm calling it that way is that a lot of the modules actually using hardware from classic synths from the 80s, and really the best of them. So Vortex 6 is similar to the PPG wave, the oscillator of the PPG wave. It has an 8-bit converters. I don't think there's anything like it out there currently. So it's a real reproduction of the sound of the oscillators of that type. And then we have Octopass, which is a 24 dB filter that was also used in the PPG and some other classic synths. Then we have the Octo stages, which are the original envelope of the Oberheim OBX, OBXA.
Okay.
You don't find it anywhere. Everything now is digital envelopes and polysynths. So if we're looking at this as a polysynth, it's a really interesting approach because you are able to play with a polysynth that you can break into pieces. You have all your interface in front of you, all the knobs, everything is just however you would like to set it. You can see what resources you have. Do I have one envelope? Do I have two second envelope? It's all just sitting there. And these modules, we just released them in the past, I think, the last 3 months. We released the Vortex 6, the Octopass, the Octo stages, and Octogain, which is a polyphonic VCA for the system.
And just to confirm, so for these, each one of these, there's 8 envelope ADSRs within each one. Is that
Exactly.
correct? Yeah.
Exactly.
Hence the name Octo.
Exactly. That's why exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So the octopus, you can see it on a lot of the faceplates,
Yeah.
and this kind of symbolize
Yeah.
the function.
And so we've got 8
VCAs.
VCAs there. in
Exactly.
that one, yeah.
Now you can see that a lot of them have also regular jacks, so it's fully open to go and experiment monophonically, or I would say it's stacked polyphonically. And when we're looking at it as a synthesizer, okay, for a second, again, this thing mutates. So when we're looking at it just as a plain synthesizer, say, okay, we got a PPG synthesizer. It's a big deal all by its own, I would think a lot of people say. But the fact that we are able to swap type of filters, swap envelopes, and able to patch it in non-traditional ways is where it gets beyond what a standard polyphonic synth can do. And with that comes creativity, obviously. When you look at this thing, you need to think, okay, what I'm going to do with it and how I'm going to patch it. You can obviously look and say, okay, this is just a synth. And many of our people we are working with and who got the modules are just telling me, listen, I patched it once, I love it how it is, it just sounds gorgeous, and I'm good. And okay, but it really goes far beyond that.
Because we have the USB cables.
Because they're not USB. They look like USB, but they are called polytip cables, and there are special patch cables that we have created to make this happen. And what they do is they pass all those signals. So if you think on a patch cable, right? If we look at a patch cable like this has one signal in it.
Yep.
And we look at a patch cable like this, it has 8 signals in it.
Let's see.
So they're really just miniature, sub-miniature snakes, like your studio snake.
Yeah.
That's really what they are.
Yeah.
And the ability to use that format that is so small and fairly reliable gave us the opportunity to make it, fit in the Eurorack system. So this year, what we are showing is a continuous into this format. As it keeps growing. And probably the missing part that, at least for us, was really a must was an LFO. because we didn't have much modulation other than the envelopes. So we went and created this guy. It's called the Octo LFO. And the Octo LFO is 8 LFO, fully independent, that have a lot of controls per each. So you have the shape. You can select a shape for each of the LFO. You can select the scale, like how much it opens up and how much goes down. You can select the speed. The speed can be set in BPM. It can be set in frequency. You can select phase between the LFOs. And you can select an offset. You can bring it up. You can make it down. You can have it synchronized to an external clock via this jack over here. You can have it synchronized to incoming notes via gate input, coming over here, polyphonic gate input. And you have all those LFO available, both the CV outs available on Polytip, as well as individual out. So this module is not restricted to be used only in a polyphonic system, because it can be 8 independent LFOs, but it can also be used, both in that, and very often we're doing it when we start patching. We are taking, for example, a polyphonic signal, running out, and then we can take some LFO into something else, and it creates some interesting blends on the notes because it's coming from the same control.
I see. And are the outputs, the analog outputs, are mirrored to what's coming out of the poly? They're the same.
Exactly, the same, and they don't cancel each other. They are available simultaneously.
Wow.
And same goes for the CV inputs. So 8 CV inputs, and those 8 CV inputs can be routed to any of the parameters here, and they come in both on jacks, regular jacks, and Polytip jack over here.
Oh, yes, there it is, yeah.
And one cool feature, for example, is that you can set the LFOs to be sample and holds or track and holds of these CV inputs. So you can get some really wild and interesting outputs from this.
Yeah, so as opposed to them just being sine waves or triangle waves or
exactly,
waves.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Now the waves, if we go and we look, there's waves that we have loaded here, random, ramp, square, triangle, all the standard. We will obviously add a little more to that. And there's an SD card over here where you can load your own.
Oh.
So it's really endless as far as the amount of shapes that you can put in. And those shapes doesn't necessarily need to be cycling shapes. They can be just random type of voltages. And if we go over here, we can see that we can set the gate in, and gate in can be off. That means that they're just free running. We can go and say we want it to reset. So with every note coming in on the Polytip, the corresponding LFO will reset. So you get the same result. It can be a one-shot, and then this thing turn into a kind of like a very weird envelope generator.
Yeah.
It will take those wave shapes and create an envelope from them.
Can any of the LFOs interact with the other LFOs internally?
I mean, you can patch this into here, sure.
Of course. Yeah.
Yep. And then we got the track and hold and the sample and hold where it's going to reach from here. It's very, very, again, complex, deep, and for a polyphonic system of this type that we are making, which is looking forward into making unique sounds, not just poly synth sounds. This is essential because it allows you to really modulate each voice fully independently. And people ask us like, okay, I don't fully get it because I'm so used to regular in Eurorack. Everything is monophonic, and I'm just patching, monophonic signals all over the place. So what's the deal here? It's obviously, again, it's in its simplicity, it can sound like a polyphonic synthesizer. But if you start modulating things heavily, the voices start to break up. And they almost become like simple, not simple, but I would say like standalone sounds. And what you're doing is, while in standard Eurorack we are doing lines of monophonic, here we are doing multiple lines of monophonic when we start modulating them. So it's more about going parallel, generating a lot of sounds from a single source and modulating this enormous amount of harmonics all together. So it's it's a big sound.
Yeah, right.
Much
Yeah,
big,
yeah.
wider than the standard sound you would get on a monophonic module.
Shall
So-
we hear a little bit?
Yeah,
Actually,
well,
that's
we
all
can
right.
hear. Let's see. So let's see. Let's go over here, and we can go and see. Set the gate to resets. Let's look at the shape. Okay, and we can go each one. Let's see if we're global. Edit channel. So we can go one by one, okay? So we go on channel number 1, and let's say we're going to put a sine wave. Let's go and have a different wave. 7, 2, spike, trapedize. Okay,
So
spike.
different shapes on different outputs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to make them. Let's change the speed. Okay, and let's see what. Okay, so I'm just holding, some keys here,
Yeah.
and you can hear how the sound is moving from the LFO, and it's not in the same rate.
Yeah.
Okay, if they were all like a typical synthesizer, we'll hear wah 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 on
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so. And of course, it's this is the really the most basic patch.
But it
using
does sound
the-
very rich. What
It
we're
is.
hearing, like the oscillator, so that's the vortex, is it? As
Exactly.
the sound source.
Yeah, that's the
And then we're using the filter, the envelope here, and the LFO.
Exactly. So the LFO is modulating the filter cutoff.
Yeah, it's very rich.
Now, this leads us to the next thing, and the next thing is the multipass filter. This is this guy over here.
Uh-huh.
And this is a recreation of the filter of the OBX.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
And not the OBX-A, the OBX.
Okay.
So, it's a far more rare filter and a synthesizer. And it's also the same filter as in the SEM, which was, I think the SEM was the first polyphonic synth ever made. Tom Oberheim made it in I think 79. And it's a wonderful sounding filter. It's a multi-pass. It has high pass, low pass, band pass. And here we are starting to see a lot more polytip jacks, which allow us to start modulate and do things more modular. This is where it starts growing up. So now we got the LFO, now we got this filter. Things are start getting more interesting. And you can start see where we are going with that. I mean, until now we had just the oscillator, the envelope, the VCA. It was like, oh, okay, TipTop made a polyphonic synthesizer modular. Cool, okay, but what's next? So you can start see the vision where it goes. It start getting a lot more complex, and there's already like 5 more things in the pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got the envelopes, we've got the filters, we've got the VCAs.
Right.
We've obviously got the vortex there,
Exactly.
the LFO. So
Yep.
yeah, I'd be very interested to see then how you're going to incorporate more of this technology as you develop more.
Yeah. So as it grows, I'll let you hear. Maybe we can hear the. Okay. So now we are
Wow.
listening to hears.
That's lovely.
Beautiful.
Is that the vortex still?
No, that's
What?
the Triax 8.
That's, oh, okay.
Yeah, the Triax 8
Yes.
has 16 analog oscillators.
Wow.
It has not been released yet. It's a beast.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's really outstanding.
Are we the first to see this here?
No, we have actually
Oh, right.
shown it last
Okay.
year.
Okay.
But
you're
again,
still working on it.
Well, it's actually very soon. It's coming
Okay.
out very, very soon. It's finished. We have it ready.
So that's going into the multipass
So
filter.
this goes into the multipass filter.
Yeah.
Right. So we have kind of like the Oberarm-ish sound, right? You could hear it immediately.
Absolutely.
Right, because you got these analog oscillators, and then you got this wonderful filter. And another thing I can do is I'm going to open, let's say, both of them right now, so we can hear. See. So now we have the Triax and this path playing alongside this path. Okay, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it just shows.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's very rich.
Exactly. So it just shows you, another thing is how to start layering those together and get really beautiful, big textures.
And actually, for the amount of HP that we're using here and what's coming out of it, I mean, if you was to do this with individual envelopes and oscillators and things, you'd be perhaps using up even more space.
You would have a wall. You would have a wall, and you won't be able to control everything.
Yeah.
Though I must say, there's beauty in doing that as well.
There is.
And for that, we have oscillator like the ATX1, which is a monophonic oscillator with art, and with using something like the Octopus, which acts as a voice manager, you could build massive polysynths made of discrete. But it really is a lot of cabling. But then you can have different filter on each voice and different different setting.
Yeah.
So it has its own benefits. I mean, everything is integrated very well, and that's part of the beauty here. Is like if you're gonna go live with this instrument, you're gonna have the ATX playing your bass lines.
Yeah.
They're always gonna be how you set them because they're speaking through art and not 1V octave CV or whatever. And then you got the polyphonic stuff that's gonna, if you hit a note and you expect to get an F, you're gonna get an F on everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you are playing by scales, they're gonna work by scales. If you don't work by scales and you just wanna go fully, relax the tightness of tuning, there's very wide detuning function built into this, to every of those modules. So it's not strict to again, be very conservative about the sounds you are making.
Fantastic.
And the last thing I will show you, I'll do it very quick because I can speak for hours about this thing and and demo it for even more. Okay. Will be the Resonator. So the Resonator is really a byproduct of working on the Polyphonics modules, because now that we have this wonderful, big, rich sound, what can be more interesting than put a really nice filter on them? And a Resonator, for those who don't know what it does, it creates swirls of resonating harmonics. And when you use it with something that creates something rich like a chord sound that is detuned, it really transforms the sound in a very unique way. This Resonator is designed based on the Resonator of the Polymoog, 1970, I don't remember.
Okay. So
I think it's 1977.
Just to be clear, because sometimes when we talk about resonators, we're talking about short delay lines, almost like car plus strong resonators.
In a digital sense,
yeah.
This is an analog one.
I see, okay.
So
right.
these are feedback filters.
Feedback filters, right.
Bandpass filters. And they are resonating, but just on the verge of self-oscillation.
Yes, okay.
So they're very minimal.
Yes.
And when you combine this resonance, 3 of them, okay, and they are sitting on different frequency because they are bandpass. This is why it gets blended really well with the source sound and help to modify it by adding more harmonics to it.
Okay.
What's the difference between this guy and the one in the Polymog is that it has voltage control pretty much of everything. There's 9 jacks over here. There's a lot of control for gain because these things can blow up really quickly and start clip because of their resonating nature. So there's gain input for each of the band. There's the emphasis, as Bob Moog called it. It's basically resonance, what we call today. There's the frequencies of each of the band. And each of the band, on the original, it has there was the high pass, there was a band pass, and there was a low pass. Here we allow one for three mode for each of the resonator.
Fantastic.
Volume in, volume out. Again, just to be able to tame out, this because the sound just builds up really quickly in here. And a really cool feature is the bypass because sometimes you just want to have it in there, and sometimes you want to see what it does.
Yeah. It's great.
So yeah, it's great on poly synths. It's great on our poly sounds. It's great on drums. It's great on a lot of things. It's not necessarily specific to art or to anything else we're doing here. It's just a wonderful modules by itself.
Yeah. My favorite thing is to run percussion through resonators and then get almost chord-like output.
Yeah.
By tuning them to a chord.
Exactly. Exactly. So
great. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we have this year. We have more, but our time is limited.
Sure.
And I appreciate for you guys to come.
And well, thank you for the extensive rundown of what you've got here. And it was lovely to hear this emotion. And I really feel like actually I've got my head around this a little bit more than I had before. The art technology, the way you kind of just broke it down. I get it now. So, it makes a lot more sense to me, and it's very cool. So
I fully understand. I hear people ask me again, and I said it earlier. Why don't you just put MIDI in there? And I'm like, I get it. It's not, but there's a reason.
Yeah,
and it's called technology, and it's called moving forward.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again so much, Ger.
Thank you,
and enjoy the rest of the show.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Bye bye.